In this podcast episode, Ben Shapiro discusses the infiltration of diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) ideology into the field of medicine, particularly in surgical residencies. DEI, which is essentially critical race theory repackaged, posits that underrepresentation of certain demographic groups in various industries is due to systemic discrimination or racism. This ideology challenges the meritocracy by advocating for the advancement of individuals based on their intersectional qualities rather than their qualifications. Wake Forest Medical School is highlighted as a case study where DEI principles have influenced decision-making. A medical student injured a conservative patient during a blood draw and callously bragged about it on social media. Despite this behavior, Wake Forest allowed Rosario to take a voluntary leave of absence without any disciplinary action. Another classmate, who also made concerning statements on social media, was hired by Open Health and received awards for excellence in patient care. These incidents raise questions about the prioritization of DEI over merit in medical education and practice. The podcast also delves into the remarks made by Duke surgical resident Vijay Raman, who expressed discomfort when treating patients with differing political beliefs. Raman admitted that Duke had made efforts to reduce the number of walls of white men in their program post-George Floyd, shifting towards a holistic review process that disregards traditional metrics in favor of life stories. This approach, which values diversity over qualifications, is concerning in a field where patient outcomes depend on the skill and expertise of medical professionals. The American College of Surgeons is criticized for its definition of racism, which excludes the possibility of being racist against white people. This skewed definition perpetuates the idea that discrimination against white individuals is acceptable as a form of corrective action. The organization also promotes the idea that patients do better when treated by physicians who resemble them, leading to calls for grants and awards based on intersectionality rather than merit. Furthermore, a conference at Penn highlighted the need for a Rooney Rule in academic medicine and surgery, similar to the NFL policy that mandates the interview of minority candidates. This rule would force teams to consider minority candidates regardless of qualifications, with the belief that diversity initiatives should take precedence over merit-based selection processes. The push for diversity in surgical residencies raises concerns about the potential impact on patient care and outcomes. Shapiro argues that selecting individuals based on race rather than merit is a form of corrective racism, as it undermines the importance of qualifications and competence. Shapiro emphasizes the need for meritocracy in professions like medicine, where people's lives are at stake, and warns against the dangers of putting unqualified individuals in positions of power based on their race. Shapiro points out that medical errors are the third leading cause of death in the United States, highlighting the critical need for qualified and competent healthcare professionals. He criticizes the push for DEI in medical schools and colleges of surgeons, stating that merit should be the sole governing principle in selecting doctors and surgeons. He argues that prioritizing race over merit in such professions can have deadly consequences, as incompetence and lack of qualifications can lead to medical malpractice and errors. The conversation shifts to immigration policies and their impact on public safety, particularly in light of a tragic incident involving an undocumented immigrant who was arrested for the murder of a nursing student. Shapiro criticizes the Biden administration's handling of immigration, citing the release of individuals with criminal records and the lack of vetting for those entering the country illegally. He highlights the need for stricter border control measures to prevent such incidents and protect American citizens. Shapiro discusses the potential policy agenda of former President Donald Trump in a hypothetical second term, as outlined in a Politico article. Trump's proposed policies include a 16-week abortion ban, tariffs on China, and a focus on economic security as national security. Shapiro defends Trump's stance on these issues, arguing that they prioritize American interests and national security. He dismisses claims that Trump's policies would be extreme, stating that they are necessary for protecting the country's economy and security. Shapiro analyzes the current state of the election, noting that according to Economist, Trump is up by 1 point, while according to Consult, Trump is up by 4 points. He explains that if Trump is up in the popular vote, he is likely to win the election. However, the key challenge for both parties is to get low-propensity voters to the polls. Shapiro highlights the disparities in voter turnout based on factors such as age, race, education, and income. He points out that certain groups, such as older, white voters, are high-propensity voters, while groups like Hispanics are low-propensity voters. He emphasizes the importance of getting low-propensity voters to vote in order to secure victory in the election. Shapiro speculates on Trump's strategy for the upcoming election. He suggests that Trump may try to diversify his base by picking someone like Tim Scott as his vice president. Shapiro also mentions that Trump may be counting on Biden's inability to turn out low-propensity voters. He discusses the importance of getting all potential voters to the polls and the challenge of predicting the behavior of the median voter. He highlights the need for Republicans to vote by mail and vote early to ensure victory in the election. Shapiro discusses a controversial interview between Chaya Raichik and Taylor Lorenz. In the interview, Lorenz accuses Raichik of promoting harmful behavior and not condemning certain actions by her followers. Raichik pushes back against Lorenz's accusations and questions her journalistic integrity. Shapiro criticizes Lorenz for her biased and unfounded claims, highlighting the disconnect between the legacy media and the American public. He points out the absurdity of labeling anyone who believes in God-given rights as a Christian nationalist, citing the Declaration of Independence as an example of such beliefs.